Welcome to Lesson 1 of Advancing Your Craft. This is course number 3 in our trilogy of non-denominational witchcraft. You've likely already completed the first 2 courses in this trilogy, A Witch's Primer and Witchcraft Beyond the Basics. Now we can move into some more advanced magical and craft training. People often associate advanced magical work with complexity. But complicated magic really suits beginners more than advanced practitioners. Beginners need a lot of complexity. They need bells and whistles to feel like they're doing something magical. These elements can be seen as training wheels, if you will. Training wheels are very helpful and even necessary. As you become more advanced, the concepts actually become simpler. Beginners often find simple concepts difficult to grasp. And it sounds counterintuitive, but it's true. Advanced magic isn't about complicated infrastructures. It's all about simplicity. But simple does not mean easy. Over the next 6 weeks, we are going to strip away all the complexities so that you can make magic work for you more efficiently. If you notice that you're not quite ready for this level of work, you can still listen to the lectures, review the materials, and just put the magic on the back burner for the time being until you feel ready for it. If some of these topics aren't really clicking with you, that's fine. You can always revisit them later. But for most of us here, I think it's time to get moving into the meat of what makes our magic work. I'm going to start with a brief review of magical theory so that we're all on the same page, and then we'll move into our first week's homework. Some content may seem overwhelming or hard to grasp for some people because I am stripping everything down to its essentials. The goal is for you to work with the powers in their most abstract form as they exist within your psyche and your aura. We're not focusing on symbols. Instead, we are dealing with the actual powers as they exist. And this will all become clearer to you as we proceed. Let's begin by talking about different phases of our mind. First of all, there's only one mind, and the one mind is indivisible. There is no division in mind. In essence, all minds are connected. Incarnate beings, disincarnate, pre-incarnate, super-incarnate entities across all planes and all levels in the universe are part of one mind. On an abstract level, there is only one mind. We divide ourselves mentally through the ego using things like personalities and bodies. A person wears a mental garment, like a shroud or a veil, which we call ego, and the ego separates us into what we are and what we are not. Remember that the word individual means undivided. An individual is someone undivided in their relationship with the universe. The true you is at one with the universe, and that's where all magical power lies. It's the part of you aware of its connection to all power, and that's what we are going to tap into more and more as time goes on. Within the human mind, there are essentially 3 phases. Humans are unique because we have these 3 phases of mind, much like we have opposable thumbs, which give us more physical ability and dexterity and autonomy here. Mentally, we have these 3 phases of mind giving us the same kind of power and autonomy and choice. Most other life forms do not have self-awareness and are ruled purely by instinct. The 3 phases of mind are superconscious and deep mind. The superconscious is your higher self. The conscious mind is your conscious self, the part of your mind that makes choices and thinks that it knows things. It can know something, but it can also be ignorant. The conscious mind is what you are aware of. The deep mind, also known as the subconscious or unconscious mind, handles habits and functions like keeping your heart beating and handling fight or flight responses. But it also manages higher functions like playing a sonata after you've been practicing it for a while. The deep mind can multitask, whereas the conscious mind cannot. The deep mind does not make choices, but acts on what it is conditioned to do from the conscious mind. I sometimes refer to the conscious mind as the God or the masculine mind, And the deep mind is the goddess or feminine mind. In magic, the conscious mind is that which plants a mental seed into the deep mind and thus brings it into being. Everything becomes automatic for us with enough conscious practice, like riding a bike, learning a language, learning how to type. You practice these activities enough and they become ingrained in your deep mind, so you don't have to think about them consciously. Many people take this for granted and thus have not even scratched the surface of what the deep mind is capable of. And that is the essence of magic, being able to contact and work with the deep mind more profoundly and understanding how these different phases of the mind function together. Instead of being at odds, they all become partners, and your conscious mind starts to make choices and communicate what it wants to the deep mind, which responds accordingly. This takes work and practice. It's not something that just happens because you know it's possible. You have to work with it. For example, when you have a deeply ingrained bad habit, the deep mind believes that's what you want because you keep reinforcing it by doing it again and again. You can't just decide one day to be done with that habit. You have to uproot the old habit from the garden of your deep mind and plant a new habit. This involves planting new seeds of thought and behavior so strongly that they eventually override the old habits. For these 6 weeks, we're going to focus on what you want to achieve. We're not working with banishing magic in this particular course, so we're focusing on what you do want. Your superconscious mind is going to take care of the deep-seated beliefs that need to be uprooted, so you won't have to worry about that. When you consistently repeat new thoughts and choices that differ from your old habits, the repetition helps the new ideas become stronger than the unwanted patterns in your mind. We aim to strengthen new desired thought forms until they overshadow the unwanted old ones. In your handout, I discuss the feminine mind, symbolized by the moon and the earth, while the conscious mind is symbolized by the sun. This is just a framework to help you understand. The moon governs the tides and the menstrual cycle, influencing both genders' psychic cycles. So regardless of what your physical gender is, what you present as, what you think of yourself in physical form as a gender, you are equally affected by these cycles. We've talked about how we have the solar, masculine, conscious mind, the lunar, earth, feminine, deep mind, and then the superconscious mind could be considered the morning star or the north star, representing your true self, your higher self, your soul. This superconscious mind connects you to the universal mind that governs everything, including the planet's courses. This force keeps the moon on its course so that it properly pulls the tides. It turns embryos into babies, steers the planets on their course around the sun. Think of some great geniuses like Beethoven or Einstein. They even pale in comparison to your superconscious mind. Your superconscious mind is pure genius, what some might call infinite or perfect intelligence. You may not realize that this power has always been a part of you. You don't have to worry about making the sun rise in the morning. You don't have to worry either about your superconscious mind. It knows what it's doing, and it can take care of things for you. In magic, we often think, I have to do it. I have to get this right, but you don't. For example, if you get up and cross the room, you've made a choice. Your deep mind already knows how to get up and walk across the room. Barring any physical disability that hinders you, all you have to do is choose to do it. Your superconscious mind is how your whole being is designed and built. It already knows what to do and how to do it. Your conscious mind has decided what it wants. The superconscious and deep minds work together to support you. We must learn what we want and how to access the powers of magic. We don't need to worry about how these things will come about, just like you don't have to concern yourself with the specifics of walking across the room, like which muscles to fire or how to adjust your heart or breathing rates. In fact, overthinking things like that might cause you to trip because you've forgotten what your intention was, which was just to cross the room. The same thing applies to magic. If you want to, say, perform a money spell or maybe a spell for a new job, you don't have to worry about how or whether it will work. You know it will work because you're learning how to operate your magical powers. When you drop a pen, it always falls to the floor due to the law of gravity. Similarly, magic always works consistently when it's done correctly. You don't have to worry about it. Again, we have 3 phases of mind: superconscious, conscious, and deep mind. I prefer the term deep mind because subconscious or unconscious mind to me sounds too clinical, and I prefer using more magical terms. Everything in your life reflects something in your psyche. Your financial situation, for instance, is held in place by a matrix of thought forms. To fix money issues, you must change those thought forms. No matter how well you budget or how hard you work, you will never get ahead financially until you change your thought forms. But once you do, almost anything you do will tend to lead you to success. I'm sure you know of people who don't seem to be able to help but be successful. This is why. They are wired for success. It's not because they're lucky, it's because of how they're conditioned. You can condition yourself similarly. You can condition yourself for great relationships, for health, and for anything else you desire. Magic is all about what's possible for you. In our other courses, we've discussed at length the topic of your sphere of influence, and this helps you to stay focused on achieving success. Your sphere of influence fosters faith, which is crucial for magic. In the witch's pyramid, which consists of faith, imagination, will, and secrecy, these different qualities, these different points of the pyramid are all linked up to different energy bodies. Will is connected to the fire body. Imagination is connected to the air body. Secrecy is connected to the earth body. And faith is connected to the water body. If you think about it, faith could also be like a rock, linking you to your earth body. So the attributions are somewhat arbitrary. So don't let symbolism detract you or distract you from your power base. Using your sphere of influence helps you to ensure that what you aim for is both possible and probable, building a habit of success. Success strengthens your faith, which then speeds up your results. The more faith you have, the quicker things manifest. So that's why we say avoid fixating on how things will come, because it implies doubt. Embrace the mystery and just know that it's going to come. If you start within your sphere of influence, your faith will build rapidly. And as your faith grows, you'll notice that your sphere of influence also expands quickly, turning what you once thought was impossible into something that you're just currently working on. This happens because you trust that the results are coming, because they always have and they always do. Just like a pen always falls to the floor when it's dropped, your magic consistently yields desired outcomes when you work it properly. The results that you're going for may not always appear exactly as you envisioned, but if not, they will be even better. And this is because we are tapping into our superconscious mind, which is incredibly intelligent and knows so much more than our conscious minds know. When you align with your superconscious mind and allow it to guide your results, the outcomes are always greater than expected. You never have to settle for less. For instance, you won't get a less desirable job if you aspire to, say, a managerial position. But if your superconscious mind is in charge, you may find yourself leading a branch in an industry that you once thought impossible for you. The process ensures that not only will your goals be achieved, but that they will exceed your expectations. And this is because we are engaging all 3 levels of mind: superconscious mind, conscious mind, and deep mind. During the entire 6 weeks of this course, I want you to put every single magical tool away. That's right. Put it away. This includes your athame, your altar, your chalice, your robe, your magical incense, your cord, everything. Lock it up, get it out of your sight for 6 weeks. No magical items at all, especially anything that's been consecrated for magical use. Now, I'm not talking about decor or aesthetics. For instance, if you like to burn incense or candles in your home because they smell good and they look good, there's nothing wrong with that. but nothing with a specific magical purpose. If you want to burn incense because you like the smell, fine, but not to draw money. If you want to wear your pentacle because you like the way it looks, that's fine, but not because it's some sort of amulet. Please put away everything magical, anything with a magical purpose, because I don't want you to rely on any physical tool for the next 6 weeks. I want you to rely on you, 100%. And this may be too much for you. And if it is, fine. There's no rush. You can always come back to this later. For 6 weeks, in addition to no magical tools, I would like you to leave all deities, angels, spirits, etc. aside. We'll be dealing with these concepts as abstract principles. So you won't be calling on Bridget, but you are welcome to work with the principle of beauty or perfect divine beauty. You're just not going to call upon Bridget as a goddess. That's just for 6 weeks. This isn't forever. We are moving all the personalities of deities temporarily. You can go back to them later. And when you do go back to them later, you'll find that they become a lot more powerful for you because you are seeing them in a different perspective. They're no longer something that even smacks of superstition. All superstitious beliefs about magic are going to be discarded for the next 6 weeks. Superstition tends to undermine magical effectiveness. Instead of calling on Angel Gabriel, you would be calling upon Divine Soul as a principle, not as a deity or angel. It's only 6 weeks. Anybody can give up something for 6 weeks. This exercise isn't about sacrificing, but accessing your inner power that exists beyond the symbols. The only tools that you are going to be using for this 6 weeks are paper and pen. I want you to keep a journal, and you can use your usual diary or you can make a special one. Use anything you prefer for any of the exercises on the written tasks, but stick just to paper and pen, not electronic journaling. Occasionally, some exercises will be more effective if you use a mirror, but you don't have to use a special mirror. A regular bathroom mirror will do. Get used to using ordinary items. This will benefit you. In fact, this approach is much more reminiscent of actual traditional witchcraft. When writing anything, use your native language and alphabet. No magical scripts for this course. You can return to those in 6 weeks. I will provide some guided meditations, but only when necessary to help you learn a particular skill. I want you to wean yourself off of those meditations as soon as possible so that you can perform them independently on your own. This course does not have the usual extra handouts or extensive meditations. This isn't because I'm being lazy, but because I'm serious about helping you become an independent, powerful witch, magician, or whatever you choose to call yourself. If you are not at a place where you're ready to give up the tools or don't quite understand the abstractions behind the tools, you may want to revisit some of the basic or intermediate materials. This week, the first thing you'll do is review and update your goals. That's right. Write down some things that you want to be, some things you want to do, and some things you want to have. Determine one of those things that you want to work on, that you desire the most, and that's what we're going to start with. Don't worry about the moon phase for the next 6 weeks. It doesn't matter. There's no banishing in this course. And that doesn't mean that we're not going to be getting rid of things that you don't want, but in our approach in this course, you're going to achieve this by planting what you do want and letting it take over the unwanted elements. Just like a crop of healthy wheat will kill all the weeds. Your new desire will be strong enough to eliminate anything that stands in its way because you are choosing what you truly want. This strong new desire will naturally push away anything undesirable. For these 6 weeks, we are thinking of the moon differently. Consider your conscious mind as the God mind, represented by the sun, and the deep mind as the feminine mind, represented by the moon and the earth. Since we know that the moon and the earth work together, if you think about the tides and the menstrual cycle and birth and all things feminine, we all participate equally in these cycles, regardless of our physical genitalia. The magical principle of gender, both masculine and feminine, works within everybody equally. When the moon transitions from full to new, It's called waning. And during this phase, you'll notice that it's reflecting less light from the sun, meaning that less masculine energy is being reflected. We can think of this in terms of consciousness. Our minds are, during that phase, shifting focus from the conscious mind to the deep mind, or the God mind. The God mind is becoming more internalized. Goddess mind is taking over more during the waning moon. During the waxing moon, the tide moves the other way, making the deep mind more accessible to the conscious mind and bringing insights up to the surface. This concept isn't strictly magical, and there's no specific timing required, no particular days of the week or moon phase that you are supposed to work with. In fact, you can even work during the dark moon. We're removing everything, all of the rules, basically. Think of your magical cycles as ebbing and flowing like the tides. There's an ebb and a flow, and that's good because it takes your desires and energy from one level of mind to the next. So we're not going to be consciously timing things according to the phase of the moon, but we are going to notice how we feel through the different cycles of the moon. For me, during a full moon, I often experience insomnia because my conscious mind is highly active. Conversely, during the dark moon, I could sleep for days because my deep mind is so active and my conscious mind is not. I didn't realize what this pattern was until I noticed that one day a month, I just never could sleep, which turned out to be the full moon. So that's how my cycles tend to manifest. We are putting ourselves into a new paradigm for 6 weeks. And I hope that you enjoy this. Think in terms of really being able to grow and get strong and effective. It's not that everything you've been taught up to this point is wrong. It's just that for these 6 weeks, we're not going to be dealing with any of those symbols. No tools, no timing, no planetary energies, none of that. We're going to move away from that just for a moment in time and focus all about you and your desires and those different levels of your mind. These are the core principles of all magic. Sometimes these principles are obscured by our own magical practices. And while the magical practices are important, especially for beginners and intermediates, because they help to classify desires and understand the energies and those elemental forces, planetary forces, all of those things are wonderful, but they can also become a crutch. Instead of relying on the power within ourselves, we start depending upon tools and symbols and planets and things that are outside of us. And remember that those are meant to be just aids and helpers, and the true power lies within our minds. Even when we're working with elements later, they won't appear in traditional forms like sylphs or gnomes. When we work with elemental energies later in this course, we will be treating them as the abstract forces that come from within you, not something that's outside of you. You won't be supplicating or petitioning deities or angels. You won't be making deals with entities. Everything comes from within you. So here's what you'll discover. Within you lies the entire universe. Through your deep mind, you access your superconscious mind, which connects you to the universal mind. And this universal mind is everything. It's all power. It's all intelligence. It knows all. And it's right there within you. It always has been. Probably no one's shown you how to access it effectively, but I'm here to help you. And I want you to succeed and get everything that you want. Because once you achieve your goals, you'll have new ones, and then you'll have new ones, and then you'll have new ones, and that's how you grow. We're not here to learn how to do without in this world or to suppress our desires because we feel unworthy or something like that. If we have a true desire for something, it's not going to go away. We might be able to suppress it, but it's not going to go away. It will always be a burning desire. It's something calling to you loudly and persistently. It's your superconscious mind telling you this is your purpose. You want to do this. It's supposed to be fun and fulfilling. And achieving these goals will allow you to move onto the next level of your growth rather than being stuck. Your desires are so important. It's important for us to embrace them and follow them. Love your desires. Love your goals as passionately as a mother loves her child. They are sacred to you, and they belong to your true self. They're not selfish in a negative way. They are a part of who you are. Crowley called this your true will, your authentic purpose. If everyone followed their true will, the world would be very different because people would all be in their right place, in their unique paths, doing exactly what they want to do and what they're supposed to do. And like any ecosystem, nothing would be missing. Everyone would be happy. Many great things would be happening. Someone was talking to me before about the environment and how the next few generations might face tough times. And I said, maybe that's not true. Do you think technology is powerful? You don't even know what kind of technology is coming. Maybe it's going to be able to fix everything. The superconscious mind might come up with all kinds of technological advancements that will make everything better in a snap and where everybody will be happy and it will just happen. Maybe it doesn't happen in our current lifetimes, but eventually everything will be okay because that's the way it's supposed to be. You can rest assured that your desires are holy and they are going to help foster positive energy because your true will put you in the right place. And the more people that are in the right place, the faster the world becomes a good place because nobody's being hurt. You doing what you're here to do in your right place, not only is it good for you, but it's good for the world. We're going to be working with what I call the witch's trance. And I recommend that you work with the trance every day. Do you want what you want or don't you? Are you serious about your magic or aren't you? Is this just another class where you're going to take a bunch of notes and listen to lectures and say, oh yeah, that's great? Or are you going to actually do something with it? Are you going to get some practical benefit from it? Are you actually going to move toward what you want? So if you want to do that, practice this witch's trance 10 minutes at a time, twice a day. It's not that long. It's not that hard, but you do need to commit to it. Now, as I told you before, it may seem advanced because of its simplicity. Most people crave complexity, and complicated solutions they believe are going to be the ones that work. But that's not necessarily the case. So don't overcomplicate this material. Stick with it as it is, and it'll work for you. Simple, real, and powerful. That's what we're going for. We want to do that which makes a significant difference in your life. I'm okay with you experiencing a complete transformation of your life within the next 6 weeks, if you can handle it. If not, that's fine too. You can do things at your own pace. But what I want for you is for you to be happy and successful. I want you to be wealthy. I want you to have great relationships, a healthy body, a gorgeous wardrobe, beautiful skin, beautiful hair, whatever it is that you think you want. I want you to have those things. A beautiful home, a nice garden, nice furniture. These are wonderful things, and we're going to help you to achieve them together. Included in your downloads is a recording called The Witch's Trance. If you haven't done the recordings from a Witch's Primer or from Beyond the Basics, you may want to start with those recordings first, like the grounding and centering an orb of light for a few days so that you can understand how the system works, because we are still using some of those techniques. But in this recording, I will gloss over a lot of the details because I am already assuming that you know how to do them. So we jump right in. And if you're not familiar with establishing these states of consciousness, it's a good idea for you to refer back to the Witch's Primer and Witchcraft Beyond the Basics. Then proceed into this deep trance state. Within the recording, there are also instructions on how to quickly establish this trance for yourself independently. So after using the recording a few times, do your best to try to wean yourself off the recording so that you're not always relying on it, so that you know that you can establish this state on your own. The recording's there only to help you learn the technique and then establish it on your own. So choose your spell and get right to it as soon as you can. You'll be working on this spell for as long as you feel comfortable, several days, several weeks, several months, whatever it is. Continue the same spell until you feel a click, a sense that it's done. You'll have the sense that you no longer desire to work on it anymore. And that tells you that your spell is complete, that it's cast. You'll need to make decisions and trust yourself to know when to stop casting for a particular goal. If you feel the need to go back and work on it more, then do. We're moving away from many of the usual rules in order to let you discover what works best for you. I want you to stick to basic principles that I give you because those are very important. but then there's a lot of freedom and leeway for you. I want you to focus on practicing magic rather than learning yet another system. After this class, you can return to any system you want, and it will be more powerful because of what you've done in this course. You can go back to your tools, you can go back to your altars, your deities, your angels. They're all going to be there waiting for you should you desire to return to them. Dedicate a little bit of time each day to contemplate in addition to working in your trance. You can journal, just relax, simply spend some time with yourself, reflect on the different levels of mind that we're discussing. Think about these things. Within you is a superconscious mind capable of running the universe. It considers you just as important as a star. How amazing is that? Anything you desire is likely there because it wants you to pursue those desires. If you ask it for help, it knows how to assist you. Acknowledge that you have a deep mind that needs conditioning to achieve what you want. Additionally, you have a conscious mind that needs training to stop thinking thoughts that conflict with your desires, because each conflicting thought is planting seeds in your deep mind. Reflect on these concepts, these ideas. Think about how these different phases of mind work together. Come up with your own ways of understanding these things. You don't have to do things my way, but consider what these different phases of the mind are and what they do and how they function, and how this knowledge is helpful to you, and why it's good to know these things. Give yourself some time every day, even if it's just a few minutes, to contemplate these concepts. You don't need to be in a trance to do that. You just sit down and think. You'll be using your own power bodies to create change, and that's highly effective. Until you get rid of all your tools, you're always going to be relying on your training wheels. This means that you never really work the muscles properly, or you never understand how to get the balance properly. So getting rid of them for now is focusing on the mental magic, which is very powerful because then you're going to be putting all of the focus on the principles within your mind that actually do the magic rather than the external tools. The simplicity of this spell work makes many people disregard it as being too simple. And that's why it's considered advanced. Newbies wouldn't get it. They wouldn't understand what we're doing. And it probably wouldn't work for most of them unless they were naturally predisposed to accessing this personal power. Most new, beginning, or even intermediate practitioners don't handle abstractions well. They need tools. And that's great. If you find yourself still needing the tools, it doesn't mean you're bad or that you're stupid. It means that you're just not quite ready for this yet. And you can always come back to it later. There's no need to go out on a limb before you're ready for it. Choose your goal that has a strong desire attached to it. Write that goal down in as much detail as possible. What do you want? It should be something that you genuinely want, not something that you think you should want. For example, if you do desire financial prosperity, how much do you want? Is it a specific income? What would that income be? Think about it. What do you want? What level of income would make you feel comfortable, but not burdened? That's what you want to consider. For instance, if you're currently making $2,000 a month and you think that $5,000 a month would make everything great, then put down $5,000 a month. Focus on what you believe would improve your life. What you honestly, truly believe would improve your life. If your goal is related to health, write down what that means. We're not focusing on banishing magic, remember, during this course. So instead of writing, I want to get rid of my cancer, describe what being cancer-free looks like to you. If you have a tumor in your throat and you want to be cancer-free, you could find a picture of a healthy throat. Say, I want a perfectly healthy throat, and use that picture as a reference. You could even place that picture somewhere visible. You're using it as an image, not because you believe there's something magical about that picture. A healthy throat doesn't have cancer. It doesn't have pre-cancer, and it doesn't have any risk of cancer. So your goal would then be a perfectly healthy throat, focusing on the result. Maybe you want to be happily married. It's not specifying, I want to be happily married to John Smith, but rather, I want to be happily married to a person who has these qualities, and list out what the relationship looks like and what the qualities should have. Be as detailed as possible. Maybe you want a job. What does that look like? Do you want to work from home? Do you want to work in an office? What industry do you want to work in? What kind of hours? What kind of pay? Consider things that make the work environment enjoyable for you. What do you want? It's not about how you'll get it or who will be there or what the name of the company is, but rather the types of people, the basic company culture, the environment, the location, and the income. Those are the things that matter. If you want to maybe finish your screenplay, how many pages do you think it'll be approximately? When do you need it done by? What are you planning to do with it? Do you see somebody buying it? Is it just the goal for you to finish it and store it away, or do you want something more to come from it? Consider why you want to finish the screenplay. Aim for a clear end result, not just completing it, but getting it produced and making it a success. Think about the potential earnings too. Be detailed in your goal. When you engage your superconscious mind, you will receive better results. When you tell your superconscious mind what you want, it might respond with something even better. You are not going to be settling for less because you've done the proper magical groundwork. You've done your part. So when you do your part, you tap into powerful, unconscious parts of your mind. Remember that your conscious mind is a tiny little part of your true potential. You are so much more capable than you realize. Define your goal, take your time. This is part of the magic. Aim to get it done as soon as possible. You can keep it short, but keep it complete. You want to simplify it without losing key points. Make it concise yet comprehensive without being overly simplistic or unnecessarily detailed. So you're going to do your spell twice a day while you're in your trance. Spend 10 minutes in the morning and 10 minutes in the evening on it. Aim to do your spell within 2 hours of waking and as close to bedtime as possible. It doesn't matter where you do it, since you don't need tools, incense, candles, or an altar. You can do it in bed, you can do it in the bathroom, you can do it in a parked car. No one needs to know what you're doing. You just sit with your eyes closed. Even in a household where magic is practiced, nobody needs to know what you're doing. Keep everything secret. Before entering your trance, read your spell out loud if possible, even in a soft voice. Now, if you can't read it out loud, silently is fine, but in your mind, hear it as if it's being spoken out loud. Read your entire spell 3 times. For example, for the person who is getting rid of their debt. My FICO score is over 800. I am so happy and grateful for my wonderful financial prosperity. Perfect love now permeates every part of my mind, emotions, body, and finances, making my life healthy, happy, and wealthy. That's just an example. Focus on creating something positive with lots of uplifting energy. Ensure your message is clear and inspiring. The more uplifting you can make it, the better. Say your spell out loud 3 times in the morning and 3 times in the evening before entering your trance. Like I said, if you're doing it mentally, hear it in your mind as if it's being spoken out loud. Once you have established your trance, mentally go over a simple movie in your mind that demonstrates to your deep mind that your goal is accomplished fact. This mental movie should be straightforward and clear. Now, for those of you who say you can't visualize, you're going to have to engage your imagination in whatever way is meaningful to you. Because what you're trying to do is tell your deep mind that your desire is already an accomplished fact. Say my goal is to land the perfect job. I would imagine myself maybe on the phone with somebody that I care about and say, guess what? I got the job. I got my dream job. And maybe hear them replying, that's wonderful. Congratulations. I'm so happy for you. And that's it. That's your little loop. The only reason that conversation would ever really occur is if you got the job. So that's what you want to do. You want to create a short, repeatable little loop in your mind that you will loop over and over again during your spellcasting. You want to repeat this movie in your mind at least 3 times, but more if it feels comfortable. It should feel good while watching your mental movie. Now remember, you need to be in it, not observing it from the distance. You want to be the person on the phone call. You want to be the person experiencing the conversation. You want to be the person shaking that person's hand, whatever it is. So if you're on the phone, you feel the phone next to your ear. Hear the conversation clearly. Imagine your loved one's voice saying, that's wonderful, honey. I'm so happy for you. And then make sure that the scene is vivid and depicts your goal as already achieved. Just do your best. Don't worry if it's perfect. Your deep mind is not stupid. It's going to get this. You're not going to visualize yourself getting the job. You're going to visualize yourself engaged in an activity that proves to you that you already got the job. You already got the clean bill of health. You already got the money. You already sold the house, whatever it is. You don't see the doctor giving you a clean bill of health. Instead, you picture yourself telling a loved one that the cancer's gone. This approach is so much more powerful. Sharing good news with someone you care about is much more impactful in your deep mind than just imagining the situation itself. Your visualization should reflect what happens as a result of achieving your goal. And when you play this movie in your mind during your trance, you need to feel like it's true. Experience the emotions associated with achieving your goal. How do you do that? By practicing. Over time, you're just going to get better and better at it. In the morning, within 2 hours of waking up, you can have your coffee first. But within that 2 hours, you're still under the influence of sleep. And this is so helpful because your unconscious mind is much more accessible when you're closer to sleep. Now, at night, before you go to sleep, that's when you want to do your last trance of the day. You always want to make sure that you come out of the trance first and then you can go to sleep. So you'll follow the directions on the recording to come out of the trance first. And then when you're doing it on your own, make sure that you bring yourself out of the trance first. And then when you do go to sleep, usually within an hour or two of your work, create a simple word or phrase that represents your goal. For example, if your goal is money, the word might be wealth. If it's healing, the word might be health. If it's a job, the word might be success. If it's getting married, the word might be marriage. It could be a short phrase like, my sales increase daily. As you're drifting off to sleep, focus on feeling that emotion of completion and then just repeat your chosen word or phrase over and over as you lull yourself to sleep. You'll fall asleep with that word or phrase on your mind, and that's like depositing more seeds into the fertile ground of your deep mind. And then the first thing you do when you wake up, as soon as you think of it, is try to think of that word and say that word and repeat that word a few times as you're coming up out of sleep and into your waking consciousness. As you wake up, remember that word as soon as you can, and within the next couple of hours, do your spell again. Some people will hear this and they'll think, oh, I knew this. This is nothing new. This is so easy. Why didn't he just give us a new magical script or something? Yes, you might have already known this, but you were probably not doing it, because if you were doing it, you wouldn't have even needed this class. You'd already be having success with your magic. We do this because it works, and you'll get what you want by sticking with it. Now, during the day, this is where most people mess up, but you won't, because you're going to be successful. Most people get caught up in negative thinking. When I say negative thinking, I mean thinking that negates their goal, and then they undo their progress. For example, if you're doing a spell to fully pay your bills, that's positive. But then when a bill comes, if you think, oh my God, I'll never have enough money for this. When you think that, you need to notice it and flip it around. Use a quick thought such as, I trust my inner genius knows the right answers now and always. Or, the infinite genius in my mind is guiding me now and all my needs are met now and forever. Whatever it is, find something to negate that fear. If you have a negative thought, visualize saturating that negative thought with white light each time and be persistent. Don't let yourself slide. Call on that superconscious mind to handle it. You already know how to do it, even if you're not aware of it. Just say, my superconscious mind knows what to do with this situation better than I do, and I let go of this burden and let it guide me now. Stay disciplined, and you'll notice everything starts working for you. It might even get so good that you start feeling guilty about it. But don't feel guilty for your success. Your success is your birthright. You're meant to win in this lifetime, to be happy, to be joyful. You don't have to worry about solving your problems. Just acknowledge the problem and think, this is now being solved by my superconscious mind. I don't need to do anything. All I have to do is focus on what I want. My superconscious mind knows how to perform photosynthesis, turn sunlight into oxygen, heal the cut on my finger, eliminate waste from my body when it's no longer needed, and that's the power that's handling this problem. It's none of my business. My business is to keep choosing what I want. If you have to call upon your superconscious mind 1,000 times in an hour, do so. Your job is to keep your mind focused. Put your conscious mind to good use. Every time you use your words or thoughts, you're planting a seed. even when you're not in a trance. So do not negate what you've invoked throughout the day. And if you do, learn to forgive yourself. It's fine. It's an old habit. Laugh at yourself. When doing spells, one of the best tools you can use is the witch's laugh. In stories and movies, it often sounds like an evil cackle, but that's just a stereotype. Witches laugh during their spells because they're filled with joy. You should incorporate laughter into your spell work. Force yourself to laugh at some point while casting your spell. The laughter speeds things up. So learn to laugh a lot because it will help you ride the magical wave more effectively. Laughter isn't just good medicine. It's a powerful magical tool. Remember to keep your magic secret. The exception to this rule is if you're working with somebody like a friend and you're both performing magic together for one another. In that case, you'll both keep quiet about the magic being performed. Another exception is if you have a teacher or class or confidants that you want help from, and then they will also agree to keep your goal secret as well. So download your homework, read through the handout, and get going on your first spell this week. There's a lot to do, and you're going to do it, and you're going to be successful. Thank you so much. Until next time, blessed be.